We're alive. 2 seconds in. We'll go ahead and set the tone here. Fuck. All right. Oh, that's the wrong button. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stream. I'm Jay. He's Chase. That's Mike. Everybody knows him. Everybody loves him. Riding in the Ozarks. Welcome to the episode 2. Thank you for joining us. He's Chase.
Well, I mean, it's been a long time since we got to hang out and stuff, so how could I say
Yeah.
no?
I mean, it's been like 5 hours.
I
You
know.
know, I was invited, but I had to work. And sorry, Jay, I was making sure it was popping up on the right thing. That's why I was like looking off around. So
No,
we're
you're good.
We're good.
Is it working? Because I screwed it up last
It
week.
is.
Yay!
Where
What do you got?
XAN chatted is where the live's happening. So we should
Right.
be good to go.
Yeah, I
Mr.
mean, when I was a kid, my parents used to drive 100 miles to Springfield, Missouri to have lunch at some Mexican joint they really loved and back. I thought they were crazy. And then
Yeah.
I drove 200 miles to have lunch and didn't even know where I was going to eat just to say, have lunch with Jay and check out Drasco.
What do you think about Drasco?
It's a pretty cool little spot.
Yeah. It's
Kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you're 15 minutes down to Heber, but yeah, it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. And but man, on the weekends, and they're always open on Sundays, so it's a happening little spot on the weekends.
yeah, I imagine. I mean, that's the thing about going somewhere when everybody else is working and the roads
Yeah.
are pretty clean, till 5 o'clock when people get off work.
Right. Yeah.
So was that your first time going, Mike?
To Drasco, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I've only been there a couple of times. It's, as you say, kind of out in the middle of nowhere. So it's not just like somewhere I go every other weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it's not far from like Mountain Home, but, or is it Mountain View right there north of
View.
it, 20 minutes? Mountain View.
Yeah.
We went through Mountain Home also today.
Yeah. On the way
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
That grade on that mountain is something pretty gnarly, you know?
Well, we come down it the way we were going. So, I was like, are we going? So, I guess we start at the top of the mountain, kind of.
How'd you think? What'd you think about that Push Mountain ride? 14
It's
and
good.
341.
Yeah, it's good. Is that there's a scenic byway there on 14 right after you turn off, and I was going to try and look it up if it's called Sycamore Scenic Byway or something like that, but I couldn't tell if it was Sycamore or something else because there's a funny named creek in that area, like
Okay.
that's not Sycamore, but it's close, like Slickamore. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. We've always
But-
gone up over Push Mountain like you went.
well, no, yeah. So when you turn off of 5 onto 14.
Yes, sir.
There's actually a scenic byway stretch in there on 14 before you get to
Okay.
Bush Mountain Road.
Gotcha.
Kind of like Pig Trail has those scenic byway signs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a section in there that's considered scenic byway when you're running through the Ozark National Forest and stuff.
Learned something new today myself. What's up, Wagonators, y'all? And what's up, XAN?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I always have people ask me, have you been down, 693? Have you been down to 124? Whatever. And I'm like, bro, I'm a millennial. I don't know the names of these roads. I just know how I ride them, kind of thing. Like, I can't pull out a map and point at stuff. But like, yeah, I've been over to that town and that town and that town. If there was a good road that people said to go on, I probably did it.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever heard of Butler Maps for
Yeah.
motorcycle riding?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
Yeah, so they have like the roads are graded with different colors. I guess, which roads are better than others and stuff. I've seen their maps. I was supposed to get some to give away at a meet and greet at Bike Fest, and then they ghosted me. So I kind of out of spite have never bought one. But I have seen them, and they look cool, and I should probably get over it. But, it's one of them things like, oh, yeah, we're going to send you a box. A couple weeks go by, send them another message. Nothing. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not your audience. Whatever.
Yeah, a lot of people for many years swore by those. I want to say they're like $20 a book, like maybe per state or something like that for the maps. They've gone online now, so I think you can do like just a subscription basically, and you can kind of route and stuff around with the grades on there and all that jazz. They are really cool, but it's actually, isn't it integrated into Rev or Premium too?
No, I don't know. I probably should know if I'm a Cardo ambassador and Rever's one of their apps, but I don't know.
Yeah. Which, locally it's kind of like I know what the good roads are. So unless I was like going somewhere way far away, I wouldn't really need to know what was a 4 or a 3 or whatever grade road. But
Right. And
they're
and
really
that
cool.
the thing with those grades is, not everybody's looking for the same kind of ride. I mean,
Yeah.
some people think the Arkansas Dragon is, really cool. I rode it once. I could care less if I ever ride it again. I mean, my idea of fun is not having to slow down to 15 mile an hour or I'm going to, wreck. Or if I go 10 mile an hour, I'm going to fall over, or drag shit if I go 25 mile an hour. It's just, you have a very limited range of speed on there, hairpin turns. Road is full of grooves from semis, people pulling trailers on that road that shouldn't be, dragging their, jack on their tongue of their trailer and stuff. But some people love it, and that's okay. I mean, it's not a bad road, just not a good road for me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you get those books, and a lot of that stuff's subjective too, right? What you consider a great road may be crap. Like you're saying. You know, it. I want to. I like roads that I can carry a decent speed through. I'm not trying to drag, you know, boards on every turn or nothing. But if I can carry a decent speed and just keep the flow going, I really
Come
like
say
that.
hi.
I saw,
Firecracker's
I
hiding
saw
back there. She's
a
trying
lot
to sneak in. You've seen on the
Yeah.
camera.
She
She's
probably
got
burn up.
she got a little bit of red nose too.
Yeah, but I think really Butler Mass is almost just the 1 0 to 4 thing is just technicality, right? Like I
Okay.
don't think it necessarily looks at like the scenery or like if it's like a good consistent fun road or whatever. It's just kind of like if there are switchbacks and hairpins all over the place, it's going to be like a grade 4, or whatever. And I enjoy it. It's like the pig trail. You get a handful of kind of switchbacky spots, but it's not just like a pile of like up, down, all around, whatever. Because I don't want to do that all day.
Yeah, I mean, so talking about what kind of roads you like. I mean, I don't know if you guys had any kind of agenda tonight. We just kind of jumped into stuff, but you know, I like one of my favorite rides up in Chase's area is 76 from Cassville to Reed Springs.
Mhm.
It's a bunch of little S curves. You can carry most of the curves you can carry 45 to 65 mile an hour. If you're really aggressive, you can ride some of it harder. You may be putting yourself a little bit more at risk unless you're a crotch rocket. But I mean, on a V twin, cruiser bike, touring bike, probably 65 is probably pushing on a lot of those turns. And if on some of them, 25 is a little bit pushing it. There's a couple of hairpins with the guardrail now almost.
Yeah.
But, I like that kind of road, like you say, that you can carry speed, you know, not full of traffic and cars and, a bunch of houses. You got people pulling out of driveways or dogs. National forest roads, areas like that are great.
Yeah, it's like what is it, 37 through Mark Twain, kind of going around the upper way to Eureka Springs, or like 59 on the far west side of Arkansas. That you have the cliff overhang with the Kings River and everything. That sort of stuff. Like I love doing that. I mean, yeah, you can do switchbacks and stuff, but yeah, just having like fun, like high speed sweepers basically with good scenery and stuff. That's a fun day. Not like a white knuckle day.
Even
Yeah,
even
and
even
Push
highway.
Mountain wasn't like, I mean, we probably were 25 to 35 going down the grade because you don't want it to get away from you and come into a corner hot, but and it's the first time we rode it, so I didn't know it.
Even 71, the what is that, the Boston Mountain Scenic Byway or
Oh
whatever.
yeah, old
You know,
71.
yeah, that's a nice ride if that's what you're looking for that day. And that's the thing. Today, you're just out cruising. Tomorrow, you got a little testosterone in you, and you want to do it a little harder. So it's so hard to tell, until you get on
Yeah, I'm bad about, especially with the new 117, riding too hard. I broke 5,000 miles today and almost 5,500 by the time we got home. I mean, I was right at just under 5,000 when we left, but we had something tragic happen with a friend of ours recently. Some of you guys may know, but we went riding the next weekend and I rode like the speed limit. We were riding back twisty 2 lanes, but I rode the speed limit. My wife was very proud of me, but I did it because I needed to, like just chill. I
Yeah.
need no stress, no being on the edge, no adrenaline. I need a little peace and bring a little calm into my life. And it really worked. I mean, go out and do 150 miles of, just cruising. You're looking at the scenery, you're looking at the road, you're not thinking about everything else, but you're also not pumping your adrenaline and, getting yourself more hyped up or anything else either. And,
Yeah.
it kind of, it was a really relaxing day that way.
And I like those every once in a while. Well, hell, even today, the closer I got to the house, the more I kind of calmed down. When we first left out of Drasco, I'm running Mock Jesus up the hill there at Heber Springs, passing and weaving and cutting corners and stuff. And I got up to the top. I'm like, dude, calm down, And then the closer I got back to the house, until I hit the interstate, I was just kind of cruising along, looking at things, listening to music, jamming, dancing in your seat, and just enjoying the day. And then once you hit the interstate, you go hard as hell.
Is it hard for you when like Leonard Skinner, Freebird comes on and we gets this fucking guitar solo and they're just ripping that you're like, oh, but I'm already doing 10 over.
There are a few songs that are not allowed on my riding playlist, and that, sir, is one of them, sir. ZZ Top Tush is another one that's not allowed on my playlist. There's a few others.
Hell's Bells.
They're
on my playlist, but sometimes I better skip this one or I'm gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, there are certain I'm gonna skip this right now kind of songs that pop up, like on that same subject, I mean, Mike, we sort of talked, I guess tomorrow will be 3 weeks since Juan passed away on that group ride that we were doing, and just because we're kind of talking around it, it's like riding your own ride. If I'm on 62 from Eureka to Bentonville, I've been on that road 1,000 times. Me trying to like do a better pace than normal and by myself, just out there doing my thing, like that's a whole different ride than a completely unknown road with 10 people. It's just you gotta pick your battles.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. In 2016, well, it was like late November of 2015 when I bought my 2016 Street Glide. And I came from a 1990 Ultra Classic with an 80-inch Evo to 26 years newer bike with a 103 high output. And I was probably not the best guy to ride with unless you like to ride hard and fast. And I would put a post out, and this is not like riding in the Ozarks, just me as a person. I didn't have, a channel or anything back then, but I'd put a post out on social media, and I had like, 150 people within a 50-mile radius I knew that rode, and I just tag them all, and whoever showed up. We're meeting here and taking off, and this is where we're going. And I had a couple of trikes go one time, and they peeled off, and they're like, "You ride way too fast for us on these roads." And I'm like, "Sorry about your luck," but I had no sympathy. But I wasn't a very good rider in the sense, or a leader in the sense of like trying to keep the group whole and stuff. And I've gotten a lot better at that, but over the years. But I'd also just come out of a divorce. I've only been out of the divorce, a year, got a new bike finally, got rid of the house, things came together.
Stories like got divorced, bought new bike, like went crazy out on the roads.
Yeah.
I can second that. When I got my divorce, I had a 1100 Yamaha, and before the divorce, I was all about just cruising, maybe 60, 65. When I was going through that divorce, man, it was everything that bike could give me. Pretty much everywhere I went, passing tractors on the shoulder, and then afterwards, after the divorce was over and Shannon was pregnant, the day she had Connor, I was splitting 18-wheelers on Interstate 40 trying to get to Forest City before she had that kid. So, I mean, you let the emotions get to you on the bike. Sometimes it's not always for the best. That would have been dumb to get myself killed on the way to, just trying to get to the hospital in Forest City from Little Rock. But, I'm still here. So,
yeah, we've all, I'm sure, done some things like that, we probably shouldn't, we shouldn't glamorize. It's not probably a good idea for other people to do. My kids called me one time at work. I'd gotten full custody of both of my daughters after the divorce at one point. And I got a job local. I had been driving to St. Louis and back every day to work before that. And they called me and one of them is screaming hysterically, like she's hurt or something's hurt, something about ran over, and she said her sister's name. Her sister was old enough to drive, she wasn't. And then the phone went click. And then they wouldn't answer the freaking call when I called back. So all I heard is somebody ran over, and I got a 12-year-old crying and screaming hysterically. So I jump on the bike and run the 12 minutes home in about 6 minutes. Flashers are on, and I'm going down the interstate as hard as that 103 would go. I get there, and her sister had backed over the cat.
Oh.
And then they wouldn't take my call because they were afraid I was going to be mad or something else. And I'm thinking I got, the car rolled over her sister or something, and she's 12 and she doesn't know what to do and who knows what. And I was like, if I call you, you better answer or you're going to be eating these phones for dinner. Period. I'm paying the bill, you answer. I could have got myself killed, could have got thrown in jail for the things I was doing over the fact she ran over a kid. Yes, I get my 12-year-old was upset, and rightly so, but the older one should have called me and explained what was going on in a more calm thing. And, I could have come home to deal with it, but not at the risk of my life or someone else's.
Yeah. Digital Mischief over in the comments, he says, if I organize a ride, then I try to keep the ride, everyone together. But if it's an impromptu, then it's a keep up or catch up situation. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, and there's been a few times like we've done a poker run as a group. And, Chase and, Jay, you guys have met several of the people in my crew, that I kind of ride with. But this was probably some locals that you hadn't met and stuff. And, there's like 20 of us left out together doing the poker run. We get to this one place, and April was riding her own bike at the time. And we're like, okay, there's 2 ways back to town, to the last stop. We're going this way. Whoever goes with me, it's balls to the walls. Everybody else go with the girls the other way. And, I mean, it was, hammer time for 18 miles of back highway. One guy had a blowout and texted me. I have this little like rule with the group. Like I usually am in the front. So I'm like, if something happens, text me 911. I can see that on my phone flash up in the preview at least. And I know something's wrong. And he texted me 911. We turn around and go back, and he'd blow the tire. Everybody's all right, safe, but
Yeah.
But yeah, most of the time now it's like if we're doing an organized ride, we keep everybody together. But there's a few exceptions, and then there's, like you say, that video. Did you see the video of me and John racing?
Oh, the Mexico video.
The one where I'm trying to catch the 120.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like one of them days where he pulled out, and I was like, "Oh no, oh no!" Me and him and Nick beat everybody else to the next gas station by 5 minutes.
Yeah, I think Mischief has said. I mean, it's all about expectations, right? Like if you're, as long as everybody kind of knows what the plan is beforehand, that's great, And especially if you got 4 or 5 stops throughout the day where people can catch up, if they're 5 or 10 minutes behind everybody, they can catch up, But it's when people start chasing, when folks aren't expecting them to keep up or whatever, that things start going pear-shaped sometimes.
Yeah.
Mike, I didn't have a lot of questions on my board here, but I did have one. What got you into content creation? What got you into YouTube and everything?
So when I had that 1990 Ultra Classic, I had YouTube, but and I had a GoPro. I had like my first GoPro was like the Hero 2 or something, and I would record rides. And this was like, I didn't know anything about YouTube except that like I knew, hey, I can upload my videos and store them here for free on somebody else's platform, and I don't have to have my own platform, and I can, share them out. So like I would just take chunks or 5 minutes or 20 minutes of a ride and throw them together, put some couple of music songs to them. No, stuff you couldn't get monetized to. I'd get, Guns N' Roses or whatever. But I would have clips from a ride we do, especially if we did like a group ride for charity or something. And then I'd share it on Facebook and things like that. And I had a guy who could no longer ride, but he was a friend and he had medication, balance issues, and he had to kind of give up riding and stuff. And he told me, he said, man, I really appreciate you putting that stuff out. I live vicariously through you. he said, I'm sure you probably don't realize how much it matters to some people, but for some people that maybe couldn't go on the ride or can't ride any longer, it helps us stay connected to the community. And so that kind of really struck a chord with me. And I've got computer skills, not great ones, obviously, or my videos would be better, but I have a few. So I decided, well, we were going to Sturgis in 2019. So I bought a better GoPro. And I thought, well, I will try and record stuff and I'll try and document this and, maybe make a better effort of making videos for anybody, not just people that know me or went on the ride with me. And so I recorded a bunch of stuff at Sturgis. I came back. I picked a name that was available on all the platforms. I felt went with what I wanted to do on the channel. And that's how Riding in the Ozarks was born.
That's cool.
See, CJ. What's going to happen now is that was the first question on my list. So now we get to compare who had the same questions. So really, then you started riding in the Ozarks in 2019. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I registered the channel name and all that stuff, the handles, like late August, early September. I probably didn't put a video up until October, maybe like a trailer thing. I was trying to build an intro and figure out what I wanted to do. And I really didn't want to just like throw stuff up again. I'd made some videos, so I had a place for that stuff, but I wanted whatever I did on this to be better, better quality. And so we went to the Rat Run. I don't know if either of you guys have seen that video or know anything about it, but it's a big run in St. Louis, and it's kind of a bar hopping run around St. Louis, and it's called the Rat Run because it was started by a guy named Joe Sparrow. Joe is still around, still rides. He has lived off his motorcycle. He's put more miles on a motorcycle than probably either one of us or all three of us together will ever think of doing. He beta tested the Clockworks windshield for Clockworks on a Goldwing. He used to ride Harleys and went to Goldwings and different stuff. But he worked for JP Cycles doing the rally circuit. He worked at Anamosa at the Motorcycle Museum. He worked at Bike Shop in St. Louis off and on. And I guess the story goes, and I did a video about it, but they one year they started out as what they called the gas and go, and they would like put gas in the tank of this old kind of rat bike he had, then tape it closed, and they would ride till it broke or ran out of gas. And wherever he ended up, he ended up. Well, then one year he had this pet rat they strapped up on the front of the bike. And they were, this is probably in the 70s or something, 80s, and they would be going to these bars and people were smoking and blowing marijuana into the rat's face in the cage and stuff. And they got to one bar and they thought the rat had died. It just passed out. They thought it was dead. So he left it there and went on with the rat on the run. And the bar called him a couple days later, like, "Are you gonna come back and get your rat? This thing, man, come get it. It's still alive."
We've been feeding it. Come get it.
Yeah. So then after that, it became the Rat Run and stuff. But it's been going 30 or 40 years in St. Louis area and stuff. And so we went to that, and I caught a guy doing wheelies behind a bar, breaking his tail lights, and kind of a couple of cool shots. And we were coming back, and you guys both know John Strebe.
Yep.
So John was riding 2 back from me, so he's in the same line I'm in, and I don't remember who was on my right, but I don't think April was riding her own or had her own to ride it. Not up there. She wouldn't have rode the Dyna up there. Somebody else was on my right. And I had the GoPro on, and we're on a 4-lane highway coming back into St. Louis from being out by the Missouri River. And I see this thing coming from my right. And it gets almost to me, and I miss it. I don't hit it with my crash bar. And it was a fucking goose. Okay. So the second bike behind me went down the right side of it. I went down the left side of it, and John hit it with his crash bar because it was coming across. So it went between them. He hit it with the crash bar, and they said all they could tell is they thought he hit a down pillow because it was just feathers everywhere. That was it. And so I did a video like Harley versus Goose at 70 mile an hour. And that was I had 100 subscribers, and I got 1,000 views. I thought, wow,
Nice. So that was going to be
that was probably my first really decent videos.
That was going to be one of my follow-up questions: is what video kind of took off for you, maybe surprisingly, because usually the ones you put the most effort in just kind of flat line, you know, and the ones you just throw together seem to spike and jump. What was your first video where you were kind of like, oh, okay, this is something?
Yeah, and it was kind of a lesson too. I don't know, it may help other content creators, but you know, back then I was under 1,000 subscribers, of course, so I checked my analytics every hour. You know, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And um, I had made a video like late July, mid July about Sturgis, and this was 2020, so COVID, and I had made a video and I'd said, hey, if you don't know and you're going to Sturgis, don't take these back highways through the Indian reservations because they are shutting some of them down due to COVID. They don't want people coming through the reservations and possibly they getting COVID and stuff. They don't have so as good a healthcare systems as other areas may have and stuff. So some reservations are closing their roads down. You may have to detour. You could get caught out there with no gas in the middle of nowhere and have to double back because you can't get through. So just stay on the main roads. And there was also this whole thing at the time about Black Lives Matter and how they were going to come to Sturgis. You remember those memes and stuff? Everybody
Yeah.
saying they were going to show up. And I said, the fact is, Black Lives Matter is not coming to Sturgis because they can't get a motel room. They've been booked for 6 months and they ain't sleeping on the fucking streets. So don't give me this bullshit. I said, if they do anything, they're going to set in Sioux City at the interstate where you make come through there or somewhere else. Yeah, there's John.
It shows Streamy there. I had a good picture of it.
That is the bike he hit the goose on. But I said, if they were really going to do something, they would catch you, at some city at some junction where they knew you would, a bunch of people would be converging to go towards Sturgis and they would protest there or something else. They wouldn't do it at Sturgis. Well, I made this video and it did okay because it was informational, trying to help people, just talking about it and trying to bring a little common sense to people, not believe everything you see on Facebook. And like it was during Sturgis and I woke up and that video had like spiked overnight. It was getting all these views and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I do a couple Google searches about Sturgis. And that was when they had the kids protesting during COVID about them having the rally still. It wasn't Black Lives Matter, but it was like some locals out of Rapid City, but they did a protest and the cops let them go for 15 or 20 minutes until they, stepped out in front of a biker kind of or lunged at one or something. And then they made them all leave because they knew it was going to get out of hand. And, but everybody had seen this. So then they were searching for videos on Sturgis and protesters or Black Lives Matter. Because at first people thought that's who they were or something. And so it caused my video to spike. So then I realized like, oh, if I do a video on a topic and then something happens on that topic and people are searching for it, my old video is likely to get recommended,
Yeah.
Same kind of thing happened. Do you guys know who Che Lisi is, right?
Yep.
Do you remember her getting a Honda Pacific 800?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. I had done a first ride video on one like a year before that because my uncle had one. He was going to sell it. So I thought, well, before he sells it, I'll do a ride on it. It's kind of a unique bike. So I'd done this video on it. And then she buys one and does a video on it. And everybody starts looking for videos on it. And suddenly my video's going through the roof. I'm like, what the hell's going on with this? What happened? And then I see her video. I'm like, oh, that's what happens. So, you'll find that's kind of interesting that like you could do a video on something and either spikes for some reason because something happens around that topic or something else 6 months or a year later. But that Sturgis one was, I think that would put me over 1,000 subscribers and monetize my channel because I got like 100 subscribers in one day over it.
Got Dez here. Got Dez finally. It's about time, Dez. You're fashionably late.
28 minutes.
No, for those of you who don't know, so Mike, I think we met 3 years ago, Spring Fling, I believe, was when I met you. And as Sarah will tell the story, I was like, oh, this guy riding in the Ozarks, I like watch his videos on YouTube. He's like coming. So if we see him, like, I got a whatever. She was like joking about me fangirling. So I found Mike, it was like in the parking area in front of the cat house. Like we were just kind of standing out where the bike parking was. And I like said hi or whatever. Mike talked to me for like 45 minutes out there in that parking lot. Just everything in the kitchen sink. And I was wondering when I was like kind of making notes on this. I was like, I wonder how many kind of like Arkansas, Missouri people that do YouTube content creation video stuff were like egged on to do it by Mike, because I feel like everybody that I know, kind of started doing it because of Mike, which is cool.
You guys, do you know who Just Motorcycle Shit and Shorty
Yep.
on a Sporty are?
Yep.
So I met them at the Switchback, and I don't know if they had stickers or anything else before then, but they had stickers at Drasco, and I'm like, I know them.
Yeah, everybody's got to have stickers now. Heck, I know people now. It's almost like a calling card, even if you don't make videos. I've got like friends who don't do any content creation but have like stickers ready to go.
Yep. Yep. Well, so what do you got going on? What's present in the world of riding in the Ozarks?
Well, we just did meet East Meets West,
Yep.
which was a V-Twin Visionary tour stop deal bike show at House of Speed in Joplin. They will be hopefully done with that after Sturgis. He's got some bikes to build and stuff, and he'll be into it. I would say wait till he gets it finished. I mean, it's cool to do a tour now, but it's going to be really cool when he gets everything done. That's going to be a retail storefront from him, but he's going to have a spot in there where he's building bikes. But this is a really cool building at one time that was a bar, and it was a I can't even say the word, but like clothing store in the 20s or something. And he's restoring it with like the old original tile and prism glass. And I guess the stuff that the frames were made for the prism glass is like hard to get or falling apart and soft. So he made like an aluminum, grid to put them all in, because he has machining for aluminum because he makes aluminum swing arms and stuff. But Frank gave me a tour of the place. It's really cool. They found it was like a bar at one time. And so, like, I guess during Prohibition, they moved the bar upstairs. And there's like a third level. And when they were cleaning it out, they found this mahogany bar that had been taken apart. So they put it back together and put it in the third level. And they're going to put couches up there and do a podcast out there and like have a foosball table and a pool table. And it'll just be like a place for his friends, who he has thousands of through, social media, to come and hang out when they're there and check it out. And they're traveling, stop, and it's in Joplin. Stop and just spend, a couple hours and rest or whatever at his place and hang out and just be a destination.
I hope you Instagram, Facebook, whatever that out, because that's close. So that sounds really cool. So I'd like to.
I did a bunch of pictures from it on Instagram while I was there, and a couple of reels. Loudmouth Devin, who's on Fast Life's podcast, that's how I found him, was there. The guy, Daniel, who's a published photographer, like on magazines and stuff out of Kansas City. Steve Bates introduced me to him at the Speedway rally we did last year in Kansas City. He was there, so I got to say hi to him again. There was the guy who won Best in Show is on Fat and Furious on Instagram. Do you guys know who he is?
Yep.
Okay, so he won best bike in the show, and I saw his Instagram on his bike, so I pulled up to follow him, and I'm like, it says follow back, and I'm like, fuck. It's still it's still wild to me when somebody follows me, that I don't know or anything else. It's not a friend, and so I went over and was like, hey man, I went to follow you, and it said follow back, so I just thought I'd introduce myself and riding in the Ozarks. And he's like, oh yeah, cool man, and stuff, and started tagging me and stuff. 12 o'clock shop was there doing stunt shows and stuff, but it was a good time.
How's the new bike treating you? You liking the
5,500 miles? It hasn't quit me yet.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. There's been a few like audio type stuff with the audio system, and they knew that. I mean, that was started. I knew that when I bought it, they'd had some bugs. They had an update at the beginning of the year that fixed a bunch of stuff. I don't know, when you're using CarPlay, sometimes it's hard to figure out if you're having a weird issue, if it's your phone or the bike, because like I can do other stuff in the menu and it works fine, but like the song is skipping or pausing, and I don't know if it's reception or if the phone's getting hot or the amp's getting hot, and it's only once in a while. I thought I had pretty much everything. I had a weird thing, and I know it was my phone because I could do anything in the menu except in Google Maps. I couldn't bring it up and like get the left, right trigger buttons to work at all in Google Maps, but any other app, it would work. So I know it was just that app. But that's
Gotcha.
the kind of stuff that you like is glitchy, and you don't know, is that the phone? Is it the app? Is it CarPlay? Who's really at fault here?
Apple fighting Google inside your bike.
Yeah,
So
man.
did you guys see Desiree's comment about Mike?
Yeah, which bike was that, Des? Do you know the name of it?
Yeah.
Type quickly.
That tickles my brain, but I don't remember which bike it was.
We're waiting. Come on.
Come on, Des, let's go.
Okay, I was like the Miami Device. I love that bike. I was like, I could not personally. I'm not cool enough to ride that bike, but that bike is awesome.
That bike is awesome, and I would ride that bike. I'm cool enough to ride it. I put my $25 in on it.
I'll figure out how to be cool if I ride it. I'll fake it till I make it, baby. Well, I do a lot of shit.
Made that much money though. That was a super cool bike.
Yeah, it was. You'd be cool enough to ride it if you rode it.
I mean, like if I got it, like I would totally ride it. I'm just saying, like, I'm not cool enough for that bike.
Just keep faking it. Yeah, just like, oh, you not heard of me? You been under a rock?
Like that's one of those bikes that like you roll up. Hell, I got that on my beige BMW. You roll up in front of the cat house, everybody stops and stares at you. You got to be on that behavior.
Well, heck, you never know, man. We might reach out to him and get him on here.
Yeah. Seemed like a real nice dude.
So what's in your future, boss? What you got coming up?
So I don't know that we're gonna ride any this weekend. I get some videos done. I like had a hog rally 2 weeks ago, and then East meets West, and so I need to get some videos caught up. I'm kind of I'm not behind, but I don't have anything like ready to go either. I gotta finish editing one up that I started on, and then I got one I recorded this morning that I'm gonna try and throw up. That's just a real quick talking head on the recall stuff, but. Probably a couple weeks off, try to get ready because we go to Milwaukee the second weekend in July. So, I 4th of July weekend, it falls on a Friday. So I was kind of like, I want to go to like a destination ride somewhere. Friends can come or not come, whatever. But like it's a 3-day weekend. So go to like Poopy's Bar in Savannah, Illinois, or, somewhere that's 300 miles, 400 miles away, Yeah. Go spend the night, go spend the day somewhere, and then ride back.
Yeah, definitely ride north this time of year.
Yeah, right.
Northeast.
And you guys are going to Sturgis this year, right?
Yeah, we're going to Sturgis this year. I'm don't have details yet, but there's a chance I'll be doing a meet and greet at Sturgis, similar to what I'm doing at Milwaukee with a major manufacturer of a motorcycle brand, so we'll see.
What, CF Moto? Or?
Yeah. Yeah, they reached out, but I told them I was already booked.
Are you guys doing an Airbnb or are you doing like Buffalo Chip?
So you met Randy, big guy with the beard? Yep. So Randy is getting married at Sturgis. They already have their venue and everything planned. Him and Keller are getting married. He proposed to her, said spring fling.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, I think I do.
Yeah. So they're getting married at Sturgis. I believe, this is the really funny part. I'm the best man. Probably the true best man is Travis, but Travis is the one officiating the wedding. So I'm going to stand in as best man. But they've got a big camper and stuff, and we have a spot at Kickstand's campground. So I will be at Sturgis, and on Thursday, the only thing I'll be doing is supporting my bro and doing whatever he wants to do on his wedding day. And Texas Hippie Coalition plays at Kickstands Thursday night, and he's been wanting to see him. Last time we went to Sturgis, he wanted to go see him somewhere, and we didn't make it. So it's like they're playing his wedding reception this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to watch him at Flatheads, but it didn't happen. I like DHC. I mean the band. I don't,
Whatever.
No, that's cool. Is XA, and you brought up a good point too. We got Ozark Bike Fest. Well, there's kind of that, there's that gap into like July, August where everybody does like kind of spring, early summer rides, and then it gets 125 degrees and nobody does any rallies for like a month and a half or two. Then we get kind of into fall-ish weather, which is hot as hell, right? But
Yeah, I mean September, from like September 1 on, we are booked solid usually for 2 months. So what happens for us, and then there's some standing events that I want to go to every year. So some dates have moved around this year. It's going to make it a little odd, and one of them moved last year, which threw things off. But essentially, like, we try to go to Sturgis every couple of years. We went in 2019. We didn't get to go back till 2023. We didn't go in 2024 because we went to Daytona in 2024, and I can't afford to do all of these things. I mean, wish I could, but I can't. It's the reality. I'm a working guy. I have a regular job, and anybody that thinks that 20,000 subscribers is going to pay for a full-time lifestyle, you are wrong. It wouldn't pay my house payment, much less, put food on the table and bills and bikes and everything else. So
No, you need 5 times that. Amazon links, 3 or 4 sponsors, some
what I
ad
make,
reads.
what I make on YouTube, and I've thought about doing a video on this. I'll say it on here, and maybe you guys should tell me if I should or shouldn't, if you think it'd be interesting. People get jealous when her 2 wheels like went full time. There was a lot of hate. You could tell in the comments, like, because she's riding a motorcycle all the time, and that's how she's making a living. But they don't see all the work that goes into the back end of it.
Yeah.
But YouTube basically is paying for the 2024 Street Glide. It's paying for the insurance and any upgrades I do. If I can't afford to pay for it from YouTube, then I'm not doing it. Now, I don't pay for everything I get. I've gotten some stuff that's sponsored, given to me, like that Easy Shift that I just did a video on. I have a deal with the Factory Match where, they're sponsoring videos, but instead of him paying me, we're building up credit, and then I'm ordering parts. So, they're not free. I'm doing something in return that had a monetary value that we set. He's just allowing me to spend that and save it as credits and spend it with him rather than him paying me.
Yeah.
But, that kind of thing. So there's some things I get, or I have, get a discount on or something like that. But there's a lot of things I buy too. I just ordered a seat from Mustang. It looks like I guess I got approved on the brand ambassador application because they, sent me a message and I called them. So we made a deal on a seat, but I'm not getting that for free. Even as a brand ambassador, that doesn't mean I get it free. It means maybe they're helping me out with the cost a little, but that's how that stuff works. So,
Which Mustang seat are you getting?
Codlins.
Okay.
Yep. And they got a new design they just came out with. I like it. It's very similar to their basically their version of a step-up seat, but it's a different design for the pattern and things like that, and it's slightly different. I'll get more details, but it's 6 to 8 weeks out, so I'll be lucky if I have it by Sturgis.
Codlin seems like they make some decent parts. Looks like all their stuff's pretty solid, well made.
Yeah, I mean, so at that East Meets West, V-Twin Visionary was there, and he has a road glide that he's built with a bunch of different parts from vendors, and he had the water reservoir cover I showed you today.
Yes,
he
sir.
had that on the road glide. He's got the Easy Shift on there. He's got their horn cover. So the horn on the Street Glide is up by the heel toe shifter. And so there's like a relocation thing you can do, but then it leaves kind of a hole there. So they've got kind of like a cover that just kind of fills that gap so you don't see all the wiring and stuff that would be exposed when you would move the horn. They do bars, they do pegs and other stuff, but this bike particularly had 2 or 3 things from them that I was kind of looking at and stuff. So I got to see them on his build. So that was kind of cool. I also have Saddleman seats on the Dyna on April's bike and stuff. So I'm not like exclusive with this brand and I can't talk about anything else and stuff, but obviously I'm going to try and support companies that are supporting me. So this, the Codlin seat I thought was cool. And so I just wanted to review it, and I reached out and they're like, well, you got to talk to Mustang. It's just a collaboration for us, and stuff. And it's like, it's going to work out. So that's cool. But again, I'm like I said, I'm paying for it.
Yeah.
I talked to Kraus reached out to me about the Easy Shift. So they gave me that, a $92 part. Not something I would have probably ever bought otherwise, but after using it, I put it on Firecracker's bike and I pretty much was told I'm not allowed to take it off. So if I want to run it, I have to buy another one. So
Yeah.
I ordered one, so.
Yeah, I forgot to ask you about that earlier today. If it was, I mean, it's $100, but I mean, if it can improve your riding experience, your uh,
Well, do you ever have problems hitting neutral? Do you ever get like at a light and you're back and forth trying to?
uh, every once in a while, if I've been riding the bike pretty hard, I'll get a little bit of it. But if I go ahead,
I was just gonna say I don't personally have much of an issue, but I've been riding for 40 years. I think experience has something to do with it, and I think some bikes are better than others. Her Sport Glide, she struggles with it at times. I mean, like really at a stoplight, I see her over there fighting the damn thing,
yeah,
and if she
for a
turns it
sec, for a
off,
sec, for a
she
sec.
turns it off, it goes in every time. But
Yeah.
when it's running, no. And so we put this on her bike, and she was like, "Hell yeah!" I mean, like we were out to dinner with friends. She's like, "You all got to buy this. I don't care if it's $100. You got to buy this. This is, like." So I think if you struggle, this is the solution. I don't know that everybody needs it, but I did feel like it was an improvement enough that I'm going to spend $100 on it anyway. I mean, just like shifting, even going from first to second, I can feel neutral as I pass it now.
Oh,
It's
okay.
more pronunciated per se. It's obviously easier to find or feel.
Yeah.
And so, I liked it. So I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and I buy one with my own money.
Yeah, and unfortunately, $100 these days is like $20 was 30 years ago. So I mean, it's not quite. It's more like 50, 20, but I mean, $100, that's nothing. And it looked like a well-made part. So
Yeah. I mean, there's a HD Vibe did a video where because there's knockoff versions of this,
yes, sir.
and he bought 2 or 3 of them for 20 or $30. And he's like, none of them have the fit and finish. None of
Yeah.
them fit as well made or anything else. So sometimes you get what you pay for. And Kraus is made in America with U.S. materials. They don't buy their aluminum from overseas or something like that. So it's made in America with American, materials.
And it's powder coated too, not anodized, right?
Yes, I think so.
So it shouldn't fade out in the sun like like the anodized black will always turn purple or gold maybe depending on how where you leave it. So
And I'm not I'm not hating on anybody for buying Chinese stuff. I've tested Chinese stuff or whatever. You got to do whatever fits your budget. But I
yeah,
mean, if I can spend $50 and support American made business and products, that's not a big price to pay to help support that. If it's 500, that's a whole different story.
yeah.
To scale.
I mean, if we were in a better place, then we'd all buy 100% American products. But sometimes you need that thing, and you got to go. Well, I don't want to eat ramen for the next 2 weeks, so I'm gonna buy this other part. We'll see how it goes and hope for the best.
Just buy a bike that nobody out of China makes parts for, and you're solid.
I'm gonna tell you right now, I ain't ate ramen since I got out of the Crossbar Hotel, and I'm not going to. I will eat fucking peanut butter and jelly, but I will not eat ramen again.
Well, sometimes you're exposed to certain things, and you don't want to have to be exposed to them anymore.
Yeah.
No, it's cool. I've still got my checklist over here of questions that Jay's asked that I had on my list that I'm not going to ask now. One of them was
your turn. Your turn, Chase. Your turn.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. All right, there's HD Secrets. What kind of tea do you have for us here, Mike?
So they have really cracked down a lot in the last 5 years. I don't know why, but they have gotten really tight on security. I don't have anything currently other than just what makes sense to me, but I did before the launch, within less than 48 hours before the launch, I got a shot of a poster that showed every model that was coming out for the 2025s. And I didn't use it and I didn't post it. And if it had been a month before, maybe I would have. But at 2 days before, it probably wasn't going to have that much effect. And the effect it would have had would have been like, oh, well, they're not releasing the bike I wanted, so I'm not going to pay attention. That's
Yeah.
probably all that was going to happen at that point. So I didn't put it out, and I didn't really have time to put out a good video about it or what was missing or why or things like that. But everybody, there's something missing this year, and I haven't heard anybody talk about it. And I'm going to probably talk about it before homecoming, because it's either going to happen at homecoming or it's going to be something I'm going to ask them about. So, Chase, I'm not going to put you on the spot because you're not a big Harley guy, but JS, what is it they do every year that they haven't done this year?
I haven't seen any what is it, the Icon series?
No, they just did the Icon.
Which which one?
The Fat Boy, the 35th anniversary.
Yeah. Yep.
Gray Ghost. That's the Icon. What else is missing?
Hell, I even knew that. I learned everything from Mike. That's all my Harley knowledge.
Hey, look, I'm sorry.
So what is Steve's bike?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant. The paint sets, because they did the Fast Johnny and they did the Tobacco Fade.
They did the Arctic Blast.
Dude, that Arctic Blast is probably one of my favorites, honestly.
Yeah.
Still.
Well, I don't know it. Do you have can you pull up a picture, Jay?
Road Rush has an Arctic Blast.
Yeah.
You know who Road Rush is, Chase?
I know who Road Rush is, but I can't picture the color for the bike.
Blue and white. Well, it's got like little HD bars embedded in, ghosted into the paint and stuff. It's really cool. It's one of my favorites. And it was only like on a street glide, so you could only get like 200 made of the Arctic Blast or something on a street glide. That was the only paint set they put on, and then that was one of their first ones. And then they did like the Tobacco Fade, the Apex. The Apex series. That was on 3 different models. The Tobacco Fade was on 3 models. They've done no Enthusiast this year. And originally when they announced Enthusiast, they said they would do 1 to 2 Enthusiast paint sets a year. And we've had 1 every year. And this year we've had none. Last year, the Enthusiast Tobacco Fade was out by Daytona. It was out by March because they had them there in Daytona to look at. And we have not seen them. So they're either going to reveal the Enthusiast paint set at homecoming, or it's too late in the year to bother.
Because with the Tobacco Fade, would they do 1,500 of each of those 3 bikes or
something like that? Yeah. And then the other thing is, so the other mystery besides the Road King, which we can talk about in a second, is I said that they were going to do a package for the Ultra and they weren't going to make an Ultra model. So there's the Arctic Blast.
Oh, okay.
And I was kind of right. They did end up doing a street glide version of the Ultra, but they didn't do a road glide version of the Ultra. It's a package. So on one platform, they made a model. On the other platform, they made a package. Now, that seems like to me they're testing the waters. I mean, that's like half in this bucket and half in that bucket, and let's see which one does. I mean, if they were positive one was the right way to go, why wouldn't they have just made packages for both, been done?
Yeah.
The other thing I thought about with this is kind of like when the Lowrider ST came out, that audio system for it was bin locked to just Lowrider ST owners because they didn't have enough in the supply chain to do other bikes that might have aftermarket ST fairings from Advan Black. And then after a year, they opened that up and it was no longer VIN locked because their inventory levels got sufficient that they could sell it to other people. But they wanted their ST buyers to be able to have first option at it. So what if with the Ultra stuff, the Road Glide's more popular than the Street Glide right now. So if you have limited inventory, which one can you test the waters with and not kill yourself on, supply chain issues?
Yeah, you try it with number 2, not try it with number 1.
Right. So tried it with the Street Glide because maybe we had limited availability of the parts and materials necessary to put that package together, build up some inventory, and then we come out 4 months later at homecoming and say, here's your Road Glide Ultra for everybody that whined.
Yeah, maybe.
If they really wanted it, they could buy it in the package, but then that way, only people that absolutely wanted it intentionally made that effort got it, not just it was sitting around on the showroom floor for somebody that maybe wanted it or maybe didn't.
Well, I hope in when's the new 26 is coming out, what, November this year?
Fall is all they
Fall.
officially said.
Okay. Well, I hope that the Tri-Glide and the RG3 and of course the Road King get the new body this coming up calendar year.
Well,
I suspect maybe the Road King's probably not going to be on the shelf in 2026, but I hope the rest of the touring lineup gets the new body. Is what I'm trying to say.
right. I think the Road Glide 3 and the Tri Glide and the Freewheeler, if the Freewheeler stays around, has to. I mean, they
Yeah.
have to upgrade that sooner than later. It's kind of like they did Street Glide, Road Glide first, and now they're doing the Ultras, and now they're going to do the Trikes, and then they'll move to something else. The Road King is really interesting to me. I hope that I hope they do bring the Road King back with a full revision.
Yes.
If I was gonna buy, we talked about this because I rode the new Softails. What Softail would I pick? Well, I've got a touring bike, so I don't need a lowrider ST because that's basically a touring Softail. I mean, it's cool, it looks great, but what purpose does it serve? What gap does it fill for me? I mean, I've got a touring bike.
Yeah.
And so, the Lowrider S is a little less touring version of it, sporty, run around town.
Good
But it's
Pan
got-
America, man.
But I've got a FXDX Dyna twin cam 88 that is sporty that I can carve curves on, and believe it or not, that twin cam 88 Dyna 2000 Dyna will keep up with that 117 Street Glide I've got. I guarantee you, because I let somebody else run it, and I had to keep letting off the Dyna to keep from running into them. 'Cause they were either afraid to open the 117 up, or the Dyna's just that fast, and it is because it's lighter. It's 5-speed, so it's geared different, so I can run longer before I have to shift.
Yeah.
But
Fifth gear is 1-to-1 on all the bikes, isn't it?
I can't say for sure. I mean, it probably should be, but I don't. I almost say that and be wrong. Somebody will say he doesn't know as much as he thinks he does.
I'll
was
say fifth gear
Jay's
is
got a
1-to-1.
browser open over there with like how to stump your Harley friends with questions, and he's like, "Oh, here's 1-to-1, hey, that right there."
Right. I couldn't
Yeah,
even remember the word enthusiast a second ago, sir. Calm yourself.
But I think the enthusiast is a possibility for homecoming. I also think a Road Glide Ultra makes sense for homecoming. I
Yeah.
don't think that there's any sense announcing a new model in July if you're going to have new model years come out in 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loosely based on nothing. I suspect when they do the new model year launch this year, I think they're just gonna here's all the stuff we're bringing back, and here's all the new stuff, kind of all in one.
Do you think
Yeah.
they'll expand the RevMax line?
Do I think they'll what with it?
Expand it?
So we got the Pan America ST this year. I don't know that there will be another model yet. I do think they will. I think that is what, at least under the current leadership, what they believe is the future. And it's a lot better future than this Livewire EV bullshit.
Yes.
And I don't care if you love EV or not. I'm not arguing any aspects of EV. The fact is, and I've been saying it ever since they started this, and I've got a picture of me sitting on a Livewire from like 2018 or 19 when it was a prototype. But the fact is, it's a round town commuter bike. It only fills a niche market, and it's way too expensive at 30 grand to fill that market, to be an around town commuter bike. The economy has turned, and EV is no longer in favor. Governments, and not just the US, are actually no longer subsidizing EV stuff. I think it was Sweden or somebody is actually penalizing people for EV now instead of subsidizing it.
Oh, because it's overloading the grid or something?
Well, materials, natural materials. I mean, the mining of the lithium and then the disposal of it. people want to talk about all this stuff, but we got really a couple issues. One, infrastructure. My uncle's an EV guy. He's had an EV car for 10 years, or a hybrid, but some form of it. But it, he brought up that, like, if you really want EVs to get adopted, then building codes need to start requiring houses to have outlets in the garage that are capable of charging EVs. That system needs to be built into all new constructions, and that infrastructure being started integrated in for home charging, and the homeowner gets it when they buy the house, not an afterthought that they have to add to it and go back and demo a wall and add a big charger and run lines and all that stuff. So that's one thing that we're not doing. That tells me we're not serious about it. Contractors aren't serious about it. It doesn't help them sell a house. They're not putting it in.
Yeah.
Infrastructure in public. I saw a sign today, one sign in 450 miles that said EV charging here at a car lot, that I passed. The car lot here, owned by Teddy Morris, put in EV charging, 6 months ago or something. I saw a post on it. But before that, in my hometown, the only place you could charge was at, a restaurant that has a whole bunch of Tesla chargers right on the interstate. But the infrastructure is not there. We're not putting any initiatives into building the infrastructure there. And then range is an issue, especially for motorcycles, because they're not big enough to have big enough batteries to have range. Cars, you can take out the trunk and hide a battery in there. You got a big 36-gallon tank on a car can be turned into a big battery. 5-gallon tank on a motorcycle is still a small battery.
Yeah, but you're also removing the engine and swapping it out for motor and battery. I think if you could hot swap the batteries would be better. Like you didn't own the battery, you just hot swapped them out when you needed them. I think that might help. But for 30 grand, you can buy a whole lot of bike for 30 grand.
And we can buy a whole lot of gas for 30 grand too.
Yeah. You can
Revzilla just did a video where they basically did, like, I don't remember how many miles it was, but it was like electric bike versus Grom. They both had $20, and they had to make it, basically from like Los Angeles, like up to the top of California or something over a few days or whatever it was. And it's the same thing if you ever watched Long Way Up. Yeah. I think it was when there was the Live Wire, right? That Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman did. And that whole show was just like range anxiety. Like that was the entire show. Was them like, are we going to make it to this next charging station? Like, we don't know. It's too cold. Our batteries aren't going to work. Like, and it was just
but they had a truck with bikes charging in the back on a diesel generator. It's like,
right. Yeah, but I mean, infrastructure, range, incentives all play into this. But when Livewire was announced, they had this. I mean, you guys know I dig into the financials. I saw the proposal to the partners, the pitch that invested in it on how many units they were going to sell. It was astronomically crazy. Like every year, it's doubling or quadrupling from the previous year. We should all be riding EVs by now, according to their projections, in 5 years.
And they still haven't hit. They still hadn't hit year one numbers, much less the increases they've been putting up.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they were going to sell 50,000 units by 2025, and we're still selling 1,000 units.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the market, like, you can watch it anywhere. I mean, the only electric things with two wheels people are buying are e-bicycles, and those, like, kind of, what are they called? The Sauron.
Yeah, you know why they're buying those? Because they're too lazy to pedal.
Yeah, hey, I've got one. It's great.
Yeah, they're $1,000, not 30,000.
Yeah, exactly. Even like the fancy ones are like $5-6 grand. You know.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, but like you're talking about, like the weight, and also a lot of motorcycles get plenty of gas mileage. When you're trying to tell somebody you should buy this $30,000 thing, when your 40 mile per gallon motorcycle exists, it's a tough sell.
Mike, what mileage did you get today?
So I don't know if there's some magic that happens when you hit 5,000 miles, but I've got a Trip A that has 3,000 miles on it. And I was averaging over 2,800 miles when I started the day at like 42 miles to the gallon. We filled up in Licking, Missouri, just 30 miles down the road or something this morning. And I reset it and I was like, what in the hell's going on? because I got as high as 54 miles to the gallon. When I started getting down into Arkansas, close to Drasco, where we're pulling more hills and stuff, I ended up at like 52 miles to the gallon for 200 plus miles. And I mean, and I'm not like just running low RPM. We're running 70, 80 mile an hour in 4-lane sections or passing zones. I'm not babying it or anything like that to get better gas mileage. I got 51 to 52 on the way back.
Road Reality says he's 1,600 miles on his 24 road glide and sitting at 37 miles to the gallon. Well,
I don't know what happened, but mine dramatically changed today. My 3,000 mile trip odometer was at 42 and it's now at 44. In 400 miles a day, it was enough of a difference that it increased that average 2 miles over that whole period.
I'm missing out. I get like 34, 35.
Yeah.
My 2016 gets around 42 if I'm at low RPM, and I get about 33 if I'm running 4,000 RPM, right in the power range for the torque of the cam and stuff.
I got up into the 40s before I got the tune on my bike, which a big part of that tune was richening up the mixture because it was run so lean. It was like hot all the time. So I think that was kind of correcting the emission standards.
Yeah, and Des said in high elevation Colorado, 91 octane, both Mike Bodine and her were getting 70.
That's right, because it was leaner and fuck at that altitude. The bike is probably the only thing keeping you warm too.
Right, riding downhill with the clutch pulled in.
Praying for life over there. We ain't got no oxygen.
Yeah, my Road King gets pretty average 44, 42, 44. Out in the Delta, I can get 46, if I'm just cruising.
350 miles to a tank. I would sell something expensive to get 350 miles out of a tank.
Right? That's almost.
Well, we know it's not going to be sex because you're not going to get that kind of money for it.
I always end up paying for sex.
Yeah, right. In one way or another, Right. All right, here comes the Jay and Chase After Dark discussion.
Yeah, if it's got tires and tits, it's going to cost you.
Hey, we're past the hour. All the gloves are off now.
I'm trying not to glance up the chat. I don't want everybody to see me do it. It's coming pretty quick down here. It's coming pretty quick.
Yeah, mine cost me a brand new Durango last time. So
we appreciate though, because when we rode a 2-up bike to Buckhorn last year, we got to use your Durango as storage.
Yeah. And hey, we got a new one on top of that. So
yeah. I mean, that's right. You had like an issue, soon after, right?
Yeah, pretty much. A couple months later.
Yeah.
But no, Shannon's ride's got to be bulletproof reliable. I'm not taking any chances with that one.
Yeah, for sure. Road Reality Galley, man, he's listing all his bikes here. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Hey.
So let's see. We've got Hot Summer Nights and Badger Bash this weekend / next week, right? So looking in the chat, and none of y'all are local, so sucks to suck, I guess. But that should be a lot of fun. And then, Mike, when is homecoming?
Second weekend in July, weekend after 4th of July.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty much cleaned up on events after Badger Bash until we get into kind of more fall weather. There's a poker here or there kind of thing, but I kind of like it because once it's like gets super hot, I know I'm just solo riding.
Yeah, Sturgis in August can be a little bit brutal. We're talking about my wife wants to do the 1K in a day. And I've never done it. I mean, I don't mind doing it. I'm sure I can do it. I mean, I've done 700 miles in a day, and right at 700 miles, I was getting my second wind, and then it was time to stop. And I was like, fuck, I could go another 200 now. But she would kind of like to do it on the soft tail just to prove to herself she can do it. And we talked about it with Sturgis, kind of the ideal opportunity for us. And I said, we don't want to do it going up because we're staying with someone else in the camper. So we don't have a place to stay if we get there before them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if we leave after them, that means we're chasing them and trying to catch them and get there. And we don't have anybody behind us to pick up if something were to happen or anything else. That's not ideal either. I said, really ideal for us will be to do a 1K in a day coming home. Because coming home, we get home when we get home. We were in our own home. We can stay, whatever. If we need to pull over and sleep for 3 or 4 hours and get up early and come home, we can, whatever. But we're not, we don't have to worry about everybody else. But they're also going to be trailing us coming home. So if we ran into problems, we could call them. They could swing by with the RV and the trailer and pick up a bike or something like that. So I think we're going to try and do a 1K in a day coming home. And that means for us, because it's actually like 930 miles or 940, instead of coming 30 miles past the house and then doubling back and this and that, I think what we're going to do is come right down 65 from Kansas City to Springfield and then jog up 44. And that's going to add just enough miles for us to make a 1K.
Yeah. And you don't
they'll keep us on highways where we can get a better average for time if we're trying to do 1K in a day.
And you don't want to get too Sturgis wrecked. If the 1K in a day ends up wrecking you, you want to get back to the house where you can just, like Chase, just lay on the ground.
Yeah. I always try to end at home. Yeah, when I see people do like I'm going to do it, to this rally I'm going to hang out at for a week. I'm like, ew, why would you want to start your rally out with that?
Yeah, it's just wiped out.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can do like 300 miles in a day, 400 miles in a day, like you can do 1K in a day. It's just the same thing more,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we did 422 today, and that was with, an hour and a half lunch break. We didn't like eat and run. We stopped, checked out Drasco, went and sat and ate and talked and whatever else. And, and we were doing no interstates. I mean, there are sections of the highway we did that have passing zones and there are 65 mile an hour speed limits, but there was no 80 mile an hour speed limit like there is in South Dakota where everybody runs 90.
Yeah.
Across South Dakota till we get to Iowa, it's going to be 80 mile an hour, but we're going to truck 90 mile an hour. Everybody does, and nobody gets stopped for it. So we're going to make a lot better time. And then, I mean, Chase is the 1K in a day expert, but fact is, if you're trying to make time and make miles in 24 or 36 hours, you're going to stay on the interstate as much as you can. It's your best.
I mean, you don't
best
have
chance to make. You don't have to, but I mean, if you have a good 2-lane road where you're not going to get caught behind somebody, then okay. But like coming down, we got on a back road, Highway 5, and there was a semi and a state guy behind him who wouldn't crowd him, so nobody could pass. And it backed up 8 cars, right away. And then behind us even further. And everybody's doing 40 mile an hour instead of 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And if you get stuck like that for an hour, that costs you.
Yeah. And really, I always tell people like, the 1K in a day thing, I think it's like great as an intro to that sort of thing because 1K does not take 24 hours, like at all. Like
Right.
The last one I did was like 15 and a half hours, it's like, it's just to see if you've got the like butt for it. Not so much. It's like a time thing, so if you're going highway speed, time isn't even the issue. It's just, can you stick it out?
Right.
Well, gentlemen,
the reality is if you can do 700 on a soft tail in a day, you probably have the butt to stick it out.
Yeah.
You're
numb by then anyway.
I mean, now granted, I guess, does she have any kind of throttle lock or cruise control or anything?
Yeah, she's got cruise control.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it like way easier if you're not having to hold the throttle all day for sure.
Rest that shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah, if you can just drop the hands for like 10 miles straight, you're good to go.
You just got to make sure your saddlebags are weighted properly so you're not drifting off to one side.
Right.
A couple of pounds extra in the left to make do for the curve of the road, the crown. Well, gentlemen, I do have to go pick my son up from work here directly. So, Mr. Mike, I really appreciate you joining us today on episode number 2. Where can everybody find you?
Jay Sorsby's channel. Now, Riding in the Ozarks, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, very little TikTok. But I once in a great while I'll put stuff on TikTok, but that platform just doesn't seem to do much for me. I mean, I get some followers, but I don't feel like I get any reward out of it. for whatever reason. You know,
Yeah.
I get with Instagram, I get people message me, I make friendships, I make connections. Facebook, I have a lot of locals that come show up at events and things like that. TikTok is I haven't figured that one out.
I think the demographic of Harley guys in TikTok is like the Venn diagrams like this. You know, like if you're not on like a 600 sport doing doing wheelies down Main Street, you're probably not getting a lot of TikTok motorcycle views.
Oh yeah, and then there you got these guys like your favorite biker or whatever that spouts off stuff that makes no sense or isn't true just to get views and things like that on TikTok, and I'm like, okay, and nobody calls him out because nobody on TikTok knows the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Lightning question though, real quick. Your second channel, New Bike Mike, is it dead? Yes, no, or other?
Probably honest answer other. I keep wanting to revive it, but it's not officially dead.
Yeah.
It's just that riding in the Ozarks has gotten popular enough that it takes a lot more time.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Chase?
To be honest, if I was in it for money, I'd probably be doing more on New Bike Mike because it grew faster and probably made more money. But it wasn't about me. It was about something people search for every time.
And those are good videos.
Yeah.
You did a good job with those videos. Chase, where can everybody find you?
Sometimes Chasing Adventure. But honestly, if you want to find me quicker, put R18 after it because I'm like the only person that makes R18 videos.
Right.
So unfortunately there's like a guy that does camp stuff that's also named Chasing Adventure, and I've got to surpass him to get ahead of the algorithm. So Chasing Adventure R18 on YouTube or Chasing Adventure 479 on Instagram.
I mean, you could always put the 479 on your YouTube handle.
No, Mike already got tired of saying the name I had beforehand. He was like, "Bro, you got to simplify your name. I'm not gonna pop up on lives and be like, here's CSF_NWA coming in hot."
Everybody that's still here, I appreciate you stopping by, and we will see y'all next Thursday for another hour of whatever this is. Mike, thank you again. It was glad to see you again today, and break bread with you, Mr. Chase. As always, my dude, thank you very much.
Yep.
Night, everybody.
Talk to y'all later.